Monica had always believed that the quietest nights carried the loudest secrets. She lived in a small town where everyone knew everyone, yet no one truly understood her dreams. By day, she worked in a modest bookstore on the corner of the dusty main road, arranging novels and greeting familiar faces. But at night, Monica would sit by her window, watching the moon slowly rise above the rooftops. The silver light felt like a silent companion, reminding her that the world was larger than the narrow streets she walked every day. People often described Monica as calm and reserved, but inside her lived a restless curiosity that refused to fade. She wrote stories in an old notebook, imagining distant cities, strange encounters, and unexpected adventures. One evening, while closing the bookstore, she discovered a mysterious envelope slipped between the pages of a worn novel. There was no name on it, only a simple drawing of a crescent moon. Monica hesitated before opening it, unaware that the message inside would quietly change the direction of her life forever. Monica stood alone in the quiet bookstore as the last rays of sunset faded behind the buildings. The envelope in her hand felt strangely heavy, as though it carried more than just a piece of paper. Slowly, she opened it and unfolded the message inside. The paper was smooth and slightly scented, and written in neat handwriting were only a few words. "Follow the moonlight tonight, and you will discover what you seek." Monica read the sentence again and again, her heart beating faster with every moment. What could it mean? Who could have left it there without her noticing? She glanced around the empty shelves as if someone might suddenly appear to explain everything, yet the shop remained silent. Monica slipped the letter into her bag, locked the bookstore door, and stepped outside into the cool evening air. Above her, the moon had already begun to glow softly in the darkening sky. For a moment she hesitated, wondering if she should simply go home and forget the strange message. But curiosity had always been stronger than her fear. Taking a deep breath, Monica began walking down the quiet street, following the pale silver light that stretched along the road like a path waiting just for her. The streets of the town were unusually quiet that night, as if everyone had retreated indoors while the moon took control of the sky. Monica walked slowly, her eyes moving between the glowing moon above and the dim road ahead. The letter's message echoed in her mind, pushing her forward with every step she took. She passed the familiar bakery, the silent bus stop, and the old library, whose windows reflected the silver light like mirrors. Everything looked different under the moonlight, almost magical. Soon she reached the edge of town, where the paved road turned into a narrow dirt path, leading toward the small forest nearby. Monica stopped for a moment, listening to the gentle rustling of leaves in the cool night breeze. The path looked mysterious, yet strangely inviting. Remembering the words from the letter, she gathered her courage and stepped onto the trail. The moonlight filtered through the branches above, creating shifting patterns on the ground. As she walked deeper into the forest, she felt both excitement and uncertainty growing inside her. Something important seemed to be waiting ahead, something that would finally answer the questions she had carried in her heart for years. The deeper Monica walked into the forest, the quieter the world became. The distant sounds of the town faded until only the whisper of wind and the soft crunch of leaves beneath her shoes remained. Moonlight slipped through the branches in silver threads, lighting the narrow path ahead of her. After several minutes of walking, she noticed something unusual. A faint glow appeared between the trees, almost like a lantern gently swaying in the darkness. Monica slowed her steps, her curiosity battling the sudden nervousness rising in her chest. As she approached, the shape of a person slowly emerged from the shadows. A tall figure stood beside a wooden bench beneath an old tree, facing the moon, as if deep in thought. For a moment, Monica considered turning back, but the stranger turned slightly and spoke calmly. "You followed the letter," he said. His voice was steady and familiar in a strange way. Monica felt her heart race. She had never seen this man before, yet the confidence in his tone suggested he had been expecting her. The moonlight revealed his thoughtful eyes and serious expression, and Monica realized that this unexpected meeting might hold the answers she had been searching for. Monica stood a few steps away from the stranger, unsure whether to speak or listen. The man slowly turned to face her fully, the moonlight outlining his figure with a pale glow. "My name is Daniel," he said gently, as if trying not to startle her. Monica's mind filled with questions, yet she struggled to find the right words. "Did you leave the letter?" she finally asked. Daniel nodded quietly and gestured toward the bench beneath the tree. Reluctantly, Monica sat down, keeping a cautious distance between them. Daniel explained that he had been watching her from afar for some time, not out of suspicion, but admiration. He had seen her kindness in the bookstore, her patience with customers, and the thoughtful way she looked at the world around her. "You have been searching for something," he said softly, "even if you do not yet know what it is." Monica felt strangely exposed hearing those words. It was true that she often felt as though her life was waiting for a moment that had not yet arrived. Daniel continued speaking about opportunities, choices, and paths people are sometimes too afraid to follow. As Monica listened, she realized the mysterious letter had been the beginning of a much larger journey. The conversation beneath the moonlit tree lasted longer than Monica expected. Daniel spoke about dreams, risks, and the importance of stepping beyond familiar boundaries. At first, Monica wondered why a stranger would care about her future, but the sincerity in his voice gradually dissolved her doubts. He explained that he worked with a group that helped young writers and storytellers share their work with the world. Somehow, he had discovered the small notebook Monica carried everywhere, the one filled with her private stories and unfinished ideas. Hearing this made Monica blush with embarrassment, yet it also sparked excitement. She had always believed those pages were only meant for her own imagination. Daniel encouraged her to think differently. "Stories are meant to be heard," he said. "They connect people who may never meet." Monica looked up at the glowing moon, remembering all the nights she had spent writing by her window while wondering whether her dreams mattered. For the first time, the possibility of sharing her stories with others felt real. When she finally stood to leave the forest, the world seemed slightly brighter. The mysterious message had not simply led her to a stranger. It had led her toward a new direction she had never dared to consider before. The next morning, Monica woke earlier than usual, the memory of the moonlit meeting still fresh in her mind. For a moment, she wondered if the entire encounter had been a dream, but the letter resting on her bedside table reminded her that everything had truly happened. As she prepared for work, her thoughts kept returning to Daniel's words about stories and courage. At the bookstore that day, every customer who walked through the door seemed like a reminder that the world was larger than the quiet routine she had accepted for so long. During her lunch break, Monica opened her notebook and reread the stories she had written over the years. Some were simple, others unfinished, but each one carried a piece of her imagination. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that these stories might have value beyond the pages of her notebook. Later that evening, she met Daniel again, this time at a small cafe near the edge of town. He listened carefully as she spoke about her ideas and dreams. When she finished, he smiled and told her that the next step was simple but brave, sharing her work with others. Daniel introduced Monica to a small community of writers who met every week to discuss stories and creative ideas. At first, she felt completely out of place among them. Some members spoke confidently about publishing, storytelling techniques, and audiences around the world. Monica sat quietly, clutching her notebook as if it were a shield. When it was finally her turn to share, her voice trembled slightly. She read one of her short stories, a quiet piece about a girl who believed the moon carried messages meant only for those who listened carefully. As the room fell silent, Monica feared she had made a mistake. Then, slowly, someone began to clap. Soon, the entire group joined in. Their encouragement surprised her more than criticism would have. Daniel nodded proudly from across the table. That night, as Monica walked home beneath the familiar glow of the moon, she felt something inside her changing. Fear was still there, but it no longer controlled her. For the first time, she realized that the path ahead might be uncertain, yet it was also filled with possibilities she had never imagined. Weeks passed, and Monica continued attending the writers' meetings. Each session helped her grow more confident in her abilities. She began experimenting with different styles of storytelling, sometimes writing about mysterious moonlit encounters, other times about ordinary people discovering extraordinary courage. Her notebook slowly filled with fresh ideas and completed stories. Daniel remained her greatest supporter, always encouraging her to push further and believe in her voice. One evening, he told her about a regional storytelling competition that was open to new writers. The idea both excited and frightened her. Submitting her work meant allowing strangers to judge something deeply personal. Monica spent several nights revising one particular story she felt strongly about, a tale inspired by the night she had followed the mysterious letter into the forest. When she finally sent the submission, she felt a mixture of relief and nervous anticipation. Days turned into weeks as she waited for a response. Yet, during that time, she noticed something important. Whether she won or not, she had already changed. The girl who once wrote only for herself was now willing to share her voice with the world. One quiet afternoon at the bookstore, Monica was arranging a stack of new novels when her phone vibrated softly in her pocket. She almost ignored it, assuming it was another routine message, but something urged her to check. The email subject line made her freeze. Storytelling competition results. For several seconds, she simply stared at the screen, her heart beating faster than she expected. Slowly, she opened the message and began to read. The words blurred at first, but one sentence became clear enough to make her gasp quietly. Her story had been selected as one of the top entries. Monica leaned against the bookshelf, trying to steady herself as a wave of disbelief and excitement rushed through her. Customers continued browsing around her, unaware that her world had just shifted in an important way. That evening, she met Daniel at the same cafe where they had first spoken about her dreams. When she told him the news, his face lit up with pride. "This is only the beginning," he said. Monica smiled, realizing that the mysterious letter she had followed under the moonlight had truly opened a door she once believed was closed forever. Winning recognition in the competition brought new opportunities Monica had never imagined. She was invited to attend a small literary event where writers from different towns gathered to share their work. The idea of speaking in front of an audience made her nervous, yet she also felt determined not to retreat into her old fears. When the day arrived, Monica stood backstage holding the pages of her story with slightly trembling hands. The room beyond the curtain buzzed with quiet conversation and anticipation. Daniel sat near the front, offering a reassuring smile that helped calm her racing thoughts. When her name was finally announced, Monica stepped onto the stage beneath warm lights that made the crowd appear as a sea of faces. Taking a deep breath, she began to read. As the words flowed, her voice gradually steadied, and the story unfolded exactly as she had imagined when writing it beneath the moonlight months earlier. When she finished, the applause felt distant at first, almost unreal. Yet the sound confirmed what she was slowly beginning to believe. Her voice mattered. Months later, Monica's life looked very different from the quiet routine she once knew. Her stories began appearing in local publications, and people who had never met her started recognizing her name. Yet despite the new attention, she never forgot the moment that had changed everything. Some evenings she still walked to the edge of town where the narrow path entered the forest. Standing beneath the same old tree where she had first met Daniel, she often looked up at the glowing moon and reflected on how a single message had transformed her journey. Writing had become more than a hobby. It had become her voice, her purpose, and her way of connecting with others. Daniel remained both mentor and friend, proud of the courage she had discovered within herself. Monica continued filling notebooks with new stories, always remembering that every great journey begins with a small decision to follow curiosity instead of fear. And whenever the moon rose high above the quiet town, its silver light reminded her that sometimes the most mysterious paths lead to the most meaningful destinations.